Welcome to Catching Up With on Down to Earth Conversations, where we hear updates from former podcast guests about things they've been up to since we talked. Kia ora, welcome to the third episode of this Down to Earth Conversations side project, Catching Up With. I'm Andy Dixon, and today we are catching up with episode 7 guest, Jeremy Faumuinā. Jeremy talked last time about trusting his intuition, about serving neglected and abused children in Samoa, his social work with youth and the family-based approach he takes to that, and about how his son coming out as gay shifted his world from anti to ally when it comes to the rainbow community. It's definitely worth a listen if you haven't heard it already. Jeremy joins me today on Catching Up With to talk about his move to the police, still working as a social worker focused on supporting young people and helping them succeed at life, and also the work he is now involved in with the organisation Moana Vā to support Pasifika people in the rainbow community. This is episode 3 of Catching Up With. Here's Jeremy Faumuinā. Well, it's great to have Jeremy Faumuinā back on the podcast. Kia ora, Jeremy. Welcome back.
Kia ora, brother. Malo. Hey, good to be here, mate.
We talked last time, way back in actually 2019. I started the podcast in 2020, but we talked at the end of 2019, and we were sitting in the kind of the social work part of the Haiata school campus.
That's right. Yeah,
we are currently sitting in the New Brighton police station, which is my first ever time recording in a police station. So
no more hiding mine, mate.
How did we get here, bro?
Because I think when we spoke 2019, I've been with the police now for 3 years now, and I'd finished. I'd sort of found out I'd come to the end of my stuff at Haiata. Did what I felt I needed to do, and needed to move on and sort of grow a bit more. And the job had come up through here for another social worker, and that was it. I said, well, hey, look, I'll apply, and then got it. And I said, the only reason why I'll come is if I get full autonomy to be me. I said, because I can't do anybody else. And they know of my background and what I do. And I said, look, I'll come in and I'll bring an Indigenous lens. It's just who I am. And we'll go from there. And so it's been really cool.
Yeah, and you would have had that relational link through your work at Haiata, wouldn't you?
Yeah, totally. Because I've always worked alongside Police Co probably for the last 15 odd years. Yeah. And so, but we had a really close connection with Haiata, and I know a lot of the guys and the girls here at the team. So it just made sense. And it was a good fit.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah. I think a number of people would probably not have realised that the police even had social workers.
Not at all, no.
And so, like what's the kind of ethos behind the role?
Yep.
What's the purpose of it, and what do you actually do?
No, totally. So this role was created over about 13 plus years now, because police were getting a lot of traction with SIFs or oranga tamariki at that stage. So they wanted to get other social workers working for the organisation to really sort of get the wheels spinning a bit more, and that's how it was birthed. From there, there's 4 of us down here in Ototahi. I think collectively, I can't remember how many up north, but it's not a lot. And so my role is I do family harm and youth prevention. So I work for youth services or youth aid within our police organisation, and I get to go advocate for whānau and also police. So I get to play the segue between the both. And part of that is making sure that I navigate well for the whānau, speaking on their behalf, but at the same time letting that young person know that, hey, he or she's done wrong. Let's try to rectify that, but let's do it in a way that's going to benefit all of us. So that's part of what I do. So I love it. It's part of that,
So there's a bit of like a restorative nature of it rather than a punitive
focus. Yeah, especially with youth services, because again, we're all about, there's a backstory behind the backstory.
Yeah.
How do we get to that backstory? If we can get in the home, get that home visit, then hey, that's where the magic's going to happen for us. And so that's how it goes. So I do a lot, obviously, still within schools, work a lot through with different other NGOs. I do a lot of PLD for them around just Indigenous culture. What does it look like? How do I do what I do with success? How do I offer it to others? Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah?
Yep.
What sort of impact do you see it having?
It's a lot, because again, culture's changed even within offending now. Like I haven't seen it this bad in probably the last 25 years. But again, because you're dealing with social media, you're dealing with kids that don't know how to navigate that, or if they think anything that comes on is forever, and it's the truth. So part of what I feel we do, and we do it really well, is again we really try to get amongst that whānau. Again, I've always worked off the premise: you get a young person, you get a whānau. That's how it works. You get the whole lot of them, and so how do you work it better together? So I do feel like we are getting some inroads in a lot of our families. Like again, it's like I don't want them to see the blue uniform as, hey, the rules and regulations type thing, even though I know our guys and girls have to do a lot of that stuff. But it's all around actually how do we work better together? Because part of our values is actually building stronger communities, which fits in with me. I thought, homie, I'm cool with that. Let's do this. Yeah. And so I do feel, but it's a slow step because things are real tough now. Economy's tough, government's changed, all these things. And so if we can still get into the homes, still have those conversations, then that's going to be a good thing all around.
Is there a whole lot of scepticism because you are part of the police, or is just the fact that you are not actually a police officer enough?
Yeah, it's you can sort of look at it from both sides. Like, because I'm so non-sworn, but yet I've been a sworn person of community forever.
Yeah.
And that's how I tend to frame it to our organisation, and so it's a different beast, but I love it because I think if I can help change some of the mindsets, it's especially our community, that hey, it's not about we're gonna lock you up and throw away the key. It's about actually we understand you've done this, but let's try to figure out different ways where you have better strategies going forward, and that's where we come into it. And so just trying to change the mindset of police in that sort of sense too, but it's not an easy thing. And just changing the mindsets of our community, because like we're in the East and a lot of them think, well, the blue uniform, oh yeah, whatever. And so I feel the uniform's lost some of its mana throughout the years, but I think we're slowly starting to sort of get a little bit back. But there's pockets of us that do different things that hopefully help that narrative, eh?
I imagine that you're working alongside these kids doesn't have much room for the let's create a boot camp and
Yeah, not at all, mate.
What would you say to people who are just like, we need to just get tougher on youth crime and that'll fix the problem?
Yeah, my thing would always be, it's funny, we had this conversation coming back to work, I've just started back this week, is so how do we nurture better? What does that look like? And so when people ask, mate, still boot camp, well, is that nurture? So let's take it back then, and let's maybe ask some more of those questions. Like we do what we call a life skills camp. So we do it in conjunction with the army, but it's all around it's life skills. It's hey man, we want to get you from A to B, and we want to help you so you can do your own sort of thinking around what decisions you make going forward. So it's again we frame it totally different.
Yeah, but which is not being yelled at and told to do 50 press ups and.
No, like we have some really cool people at the army that do some amazing things with our young people.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so we kept just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's fascinating to me is that you have people in government and other influential spaces making these kind of calls to get tougher on crime, to create these boot camps. And I get out and about and talk to people like yourself who are actually doing the mahi. You're in the environment going, no, that's not going to work. And yet, like that's the like I haven't met one single person who does the sort of thing you do who thinks that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And yet the decision makers are pandering to this kind of worldview that says, let's just be more punitive.
Yeah.
Just blows my mind, to be honest.
Oh, it's frustrating because it's the long-term game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that you have got involved in since we talked last time is Moana Vā.
Yes.
You tell us a bit about A, what that is, and B, what's your involvement in that? How did you get involved?
So Moana Vā, we're coming up to our second birthday now. So Moana Vā is a collective group of us that have come together to advocate for the rainbow community, Pasifika rainbow community, or the MVP FAFF or MVP FAF. And if you go into our webpage, and I can flick you the link, you'll see a lot of it, what that means. And it's basically the different terms of LGBT within Pasifika. So it just gives you a whole rundown of that. And so I've been loving working with that, and that just started through one of our founder Vui, who said, hey, let's get together and let's have a chat and how can we help our young people that are going through some of this stuff. So yeah, 2 years down the track later, and there's been so many things that have happened with us, and doing lots of different things, speaking to different groups. We did a conference last year, the Human Rights Conference up in Auckland, where we got to share about what we're doing in Moana Vā and what does it mean for us as people of Pacific, and how do we engage with our families and stuff. And so it's a whole lot of different things that we've been doing. But it's been really, really cool.
Yeah.
And making a lot of impact. Yeah.
Yeah. I would imagine that there are quite different needs for the Pasifika rainbow community than just the wider rainbow community in general.
Yeah, totally.
What sort of things have you found have been really valued about having that Pasifika focus?
Yeah, because it's family. So even when you look at other sort of different groups that advocate for the rainbow community, ours is really based around family, more so because that's part of our culture.
Yeah.
So when you come in, you're seeing all the different generations that are involved, which is amazing, which I love. And again, there's no, and I don't say this about the others, like there's just no competition, because ours is all about actually what I bring, I share, and what we call the VAR. And so that's massive. Because we just did did a talanoa with the scholarship kids at UC Takere Group, and we were talking about religion versus relationship.
Yeah.
What does that look like? And we had Maria Pesene did this little game. Would you rather pick this or pick that? And long story short, it came up to the end. Okay, would you rather have your sexuality or your culture? And the kids were like, "What do you mean?" Like, "Oh, you're going to choose, mate." Like, what? And so what was cool about it was because that's what we're dealing with them. Yeah. That's a whole group of people that we're dealing with that have to choose, which is really sad. And so how do we get that conversation going? So what was really nice about it was, again, a lot of young people got to see it from a different angle or a different lens from just your normal, hey, this is what it is. Nah, this is culture. Prior to missionaries come through, we were a fluid people.
Yeah.
So how do we come back to those stories again, And so, yeah, that's what we do.
Tell us about that, the before colonisation stuff.
Yeah, well, everything was accepted, so to speak. And through colonisation and obviously the gospel and everything that else came through, all of a sudden we become clones of a religion that wasn't ours. Mm. And so I guess for me, and I can speak for myself, so there's a lot of our traditions that I look at, I think, man, all of them got the kibosh because it didn't make sense within a European world or, or that context. So a lot of those things that made us Pasifika or made us Samoa or made us Niuean or made us Tongan, some of those things were, no, actually, we're going to go here now. Now, I get the whole idea of Jesus, I get it. But we're talking about indigenous Jesus.
Totally.
Because, again, there's these different meanings to it. So we're on that journey. I personally am on that journey, even more so, to see, where does this all sit with us?
Yeah.
And it's really amazing because there's a lot more within our Pasifika that are asking the same thing. Okay, so, but that's all the way it's been. Well, but why? Again, we're just encouraging and provoking people just to ask the question.
Yeah.
And if whatever rabbit hole that leads you down, man, pursue it, have a look, see what happens.
I love that idea that you're creating space for people to be themselves.
Totally.
Both in terms of sexuality or gender and their culture. Absolutely. Helping them find a way to not have to choose.
Yeah.
Because society sets us up to have to choose a lot of the time.
Totally.
And for those of us like myself who are Palangi, Pākehā,
yeah,
that's not one of the choices we necessarily have to make. There are other choices, that I know kids in the rainbow community who are choosing their family or their sexuality because of religion, and the parents not accepting them, but choosing their Pākehā culture is not necessarily one of them that they have to do. Yeah. Whereas for the Pasifika, I can see that being massive because it's such a big part of who people are.
Totally.
And how they think about life, and that actually we don't all think the same way. We don't all have the same culture.
Yep, totally.
And so to then say, hey, you actually have to choose. Are you going to do your culture or are you going to be yourself?
Yeah.
It's like, well, those are the same questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's beautiful.
And I think for us, I mean, just through the years and thinking about this a lot, again, within the society that we live in, you don't have to land anywhere, so to speak. Our thing is, you don't have just to land there. You can actually just share space. So let's delve into and explore what does sharing space look like.
Yeah.
Because again, that changes the ball game, you know. And so that's what I'm saying to young people and the people and the families that I connect with. Hey, let's just learn to share space, man.
Yeah. Yeah, because if we can embrace the discomfort of that,
absolutely,
because I mean that's not comfortable necessarily.
Nah.
The more we do it, the
Yeah.
more comfortable it becomes.
Yeah.
But if we can embrace that discomfort, we actually give ourselves a chance to grow and to learn and to be expanded in ourselves.
Absolutely.
Which I think that's the beauty I've seen of the sort of work you're doing with Moana Vā, and others who are working in that kind of whānau relational space.
Yeah.
Is helping people sit in that discomfort so they don't lose what they've got.
Yeah, totally.
But they can journey together in it, regardless of whether they agree about things or not. Or
yeah, it's funny you say that because when we were working with the kids at UC, we said, look, it's about sitting in the discomfort in order to become comfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's all good.
Yeah.
That's gravy. It's like, okay, cool, I can be me and that's okay.
Yeah.
And we're all good about it. And I think it's this massive freedom in that.
Yeah.
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 And again, we don't have it and everyone knows, and we make it really clear even with Moana Vā, I mean, we don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
We're still on the journey. And that's okay because we'll pick up little things from others and we'll learn different things, and that's a good thing because we're sharing space. Or what we call the Vā.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think as you talk about that, I think of the way that society in general, but specifically the church, which has influenced a lot of more recent Pasifika culture.
Yeah.
The church has been very big on who's in and who's out, and black and white, and you're different, so you don't belong. Which is so un-Jesus. It's how did we even get there? But that's why I love what you're doing, because you're doing actually the Jesus-y stuff of going, oh, you're different. Cool. Come be with me and let's learn from each other.
And let's go hang.
Yeah. And actually you belong here.
Absolutely.
Great. And I think the more we can find ways to get through our fears, because a lot of it's just fear of difference, fear of the other.
Totally. And we don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are your hopes for the future of Moana Vā?
Look, I'd just love it to grow. I'd love it to be make lots of impact and share lots of different spaces with different cultures, different systems within even our own society. I'd love to see Moana Vā move in those spaces.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows, eh? I just think as long as we can keep on raising people up within that, and move out the way we need to move out the way for others, and that's what we're trying to do, make sure that again, we're not the be-all, end-all, so to speak. And so, again, we're asking others to come in and you shape the space as well. It's again, because if we get into that stage where actually we've done it, woohoo, it's all me, then it's like, well, why are we bringing the next generation through then? Well, how are they going to mould it if we're saying this is a ceiling to it? Our thing is, no, you come in and you shape it with us. And then, cool, if we need it out the way, oh, okay, cool, you go, you carry on, mate. Sweet as.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so I mean, that's my hopes, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, thank you so much for sharing time today.
Nah, it's cool, mate.
And it's really great to hear about your work both with the police and Moana Vā.
Thanks, Ray.
Still out there, still making a difference. And
still doing the time, mate.
Helping to bring a bit of heaven down to earth.
Trying, eh?
E tō mātou matua I te rangi, kia tapu tō ingoa, kia tau mai tō rangatiratanga, kia mea te tau e pai ai ki runga ki te whenua, kia rite anō ki tō te rangi. Homai kia mātou ai nei, he taro mā mātou mō tēnei rā, pūro o mātou hara, me mātou hoki e muru nei I o te hunga e hara ana kia mātou. Aua hoki mātou e kawea kia whakawaia, engari whakaorangi a mātou I te kino. Amen.